How many games do you need to win to make the MLB postseason?
The dream lives! They're going to the playoffs!
90? 95? Surely winning 100 games should get the job done, right? Historically, 90 wins has always felt like a good base. Once you're over 90, the odds are pretty heavily in your favor, but not entirely in your favor. Since 1985, there have been 38 teams to miss the postseason, despite winning at least 90 games. 13 of those teams won at least 93 games. We're going to give them the time in the sun they missed, as we take a look back at the best teams to miss the postseason in the last 40 years. There's a 6-team pileup at the 93 win mark, so we've got some perfectly built-in honorable mentions to start with. The 1991 Dodgers led the NL West by as many as 6 games at one point, thanks to great seasons from Darryl Strawberry, Mike Morgan, and Ramon Martinez. Unfortunately, the 1991 Braves went 55-28 in the second half and won the division by a single game before losing to the Twins in one of the greatest World Series of all time.
The Twins are going to win the World Series! The Twins have won it!
The 2002 Mariners had it rough. After failing to make it to the World Series in 2001, despite a record 116 wins, they have an impossible act to follow. Still, they lead the AL West by 5 games on July 4th thanks to their core of Ichiro, John Olerud, and Edgar Martinez. Things are looking good. Oh no. What's that in the distance? Is that the Moneyball A's? And the Miracle Angels? The team of destiny?
Light up the halo, Southern California. It's time to party.
Yeah, 93 wins was just never going to be enough. But that was 2002. And now it's 2003. It's a new season, and this time, 93 wins is going to be enough. Just like the previous year, the Mariners lead the division on July 4th, this time by 6 games. And despite all-star seasons from Ichiro, Martinez, Brett Boone, and 40-year-old Jamie Moyer, the M's run out of steam down the stretch, and the A's rip off late-season win streaks of 7 and 10 games to lock the division down. What can you say? Those guys get on base. Unlike the Mariners, the 2002 Red Sox can still look at their season and see it as a success. New owner John Henry has injected life into the club, and after back-to-back disappointing seasons in 2000 and 2001, there is once again hope in Boston. They're unable to keep up with the 103-win Yankees, but it's a turning point for the franchise. Many of the pieces for the 2004 title team are already in place, and in the offseason, they'll name Theo Epstein as their GM and sign a 27-year-old first baseman named David Ortiz. The rest is history. The 2005 Indians had the terrible misfortune of playing in the same division as the most slept-on World Series champ of all time, the 2005 White Sox.
The White Sox have won the World Series!
A slow start put them in a 15-game hole in late July, but after a 17-2 stretch in September, they're just a game and a half back. And heading into their final series of the season in Chicago, the postseason is still possible. And they get swept. Of course they get swept. They're playing the 2005 White Sox. These guys are literally about to go 11-1 in the postseason and end an 88-year curse. Sometimes it's just someone else's turn. 14 years later, Cleveland would once again miss out in October despite winning 93 games. 2019 was the year of the home run, and Cleveland just didn't have the power to keep up with the Bomba Squad Twins and their record-setting 307 home runs. Still, they're neck and neck with the Rays for the final wildcard spot going into their final 5 games of the season. But they drop all 5 games, allowing 8 or more runs in each one. Ouch. Moving on to the meat and potatoes of this thing, we've got 2 teams that reached 94 wins and still spent October at home, the 1990 White Sox and the 93 Expos. The early 90s are an exciting time for the Chicago White Sox. They've got a new stadium, new uniforms, some future Hall of Famers, and some of the best attendance in the sport. Unfortunately, almost all of that comes after the 1990 season. In 1990, the White Sox were on the wrong end of a double whammy, playing in a 14 postseason format and sharing a division with a juggernaut. They've got a ton of talent, though. Future Cy Young winner Jack McDowell and a 20-year-old Alex Fernandez, plus an offense with Sammy Sosa, Robin Ventura, and Frank Thomas. I mean, Bobby Thigpen saves 57 games.
First man ever to save 50 games in a season. Thigpen adds to his major league lead.
But those guys are all still in their early 20s, and the 1990 A's are loaded with established stars. Rickey Henderson wins the MVP, Bob Welch wins the Cy Young with a 27-6 record, and the Bash brothers, well, they bash.
Put a tape measure on that one.
The White Sox finish 9 games back, but they do get the awesome consolation prize of a new stadium and rebranded uniforms complete with one of the most iconic hats in sports history. The other 94-win team is the 1993 Expos, and when you know what lies ahead for Montreal, it's hard not to really feel for them this season. They don't know it, but this will be the last time they win 90 games in Montreal. Their shot at a championship will be cut short by the 1994 strike, and within a decade, they'll become the Nationals. This will be, empirically, one of the best seasons in Expos history, but it's also one of the most disappointing, both an oasis in a desert and a mirage. Despite a roster containing Larry Walker, Moises Alou, Marquise Grissom, Cliff Floyd, Matt Stairs, John Wetland, Dennis Martinez, and Jeff Fassero, the Expos can't keep up with the eventual World Series runner-up, the Phillies. By late August, they're 14.5 games back, and despite going 30-10 down the stretch, including a dramatic series win over the Phillies, they still wind up 3 games back in the end. At that point, the future looked bright for Montreal, but in reality, it would be the last real chance the team had at the postseason for more than a decade. If you can believe it, there are actually no 95-win teams on this list. In the last 40 years at least, winning exactly 95 games is a lock. It's that simple. Every team should try to win exactly 95 games. At 96 wins, things again become uncertain. 96 wins was not enough for the 1987 Toronto Blue Jays. But unlike the 1993 Expos, the 1987 Blue Jays do not garner sympathy. Yes, they were unlucky, but they had control of their destiny entering the final week of the season and let it slip away. They have the best team ERA in the American League, and their offense finishes third in runs scored. George Bell wins AL MVP, and Jimmy Key finishes runner-up in Cy Young voting. They've been neck and neck with the Detroit Tigers all season, and the two teams will face one another 7 times in the final 10 games. When the Tigers come to town for a 4-game set on September 24th, Toronto leads by half a game. They win the first 3 games, including back-to-back walk-offs, but drop the 4th. They've got a 2.5-game lead with 7 games remaining. Even if they get swept by Milwaukee in their next series, which they do, they can still take the division with a series win over the Tigers in Detroit. Instead, they're swept. Frank Tanana tosses a complete game shutout for the Tigers as Toronto drops the final game of the season, 1-0. It's the worst collapse in Blue Jays history, but it's largely been forgotten over the last 40 years. When you win back-to-back titles 5 years later, people tend to forget. The 1999 Reds are the other 96-win team on this list, and the first to see their season come down to a 1-game playoff.
And they've got the wild card paraphernalia ready to go.
We're in the wild card era now, so twice as many teams get a shot at the postseason, and the Reds have as good a shot as anyone in the National League. All season, they've traded blows with the Astros, and after the All-Star break, they're never more than 4 games out of first. 24-year-old Sean Casey is having the best season of his career. Barry Larkin and Greg Vaughn provide veteran support, and 23-year-old relief sensation Scott Williamson takes home Rookie of the Year honors.
Look at the movement on that thing. Nasty.
Plus, they have Mike Cameron, who's appearing for the 3rd time on this list. Awesome player, rough luck. The Reds rattle off 6 straight wins in the second to last week of the season, and actually lead the NL Central by a game with only 4 left to play. At the same time, the Mets have dropped 7 in a row to fall a game and a half behind the Astros in the wildcard chase. Seems like a lock for the Reds, right? Instead, they drop 3 straight, the Mets win 4 of their last 5, and the Astros win 3 of their last 4. Cincinnati manages to salvage a win in their final game of the season in order to force a game 163 with the Mets for the wildcard spot.
And it's caught by Alfonso at second base. And now Leiter has completed a 2-hit shutout and has put the Mets into the playoffs for the first time in 11 years.
In that game, Al Leiter pitches his way into Mets history with a dominant complete game shutout performance. It's the first time the Reds have been shut out since April, and it will be the last time they're shut out until May of 2001. it has come at the worst time. Those 1999 Reds still hold the wildcard era record for most wins without making the postseason, a record that may never be broken given the current playoff format. Starting off the top three, we have our only 97-win team to miss the postseason, the 1985 New York Yankees. This was a roller coaster of a season from start to finish, and a lot of credit for that has to go to one man, Billy Martin.
Don't you be intimidating me.
I'm not intimidating you, but I'm going to tell you something.
Back in pinstripes for what feels like the 100th time, Martin takes over for Yogi Berra in late April after he sputters to a 6-10 start. Early returns look good for George Steinbrenner. The team rebounded to go 18-8 in May and finished 91-54 with Martin at the helm. Newly acquired superstar Rickey Henderson posts the best season of his career to date, leading the AL in steals and runs scored. Driving him home is that season's MVP, Don Mattingly, who played to league-leading 145 runs thanks to 48 doubles and 35 homers.
Mattingly, one hands one in the upper deck.
With those two leading the charge, the Yankees lead all of baseball in runs scored. The pitching staff finishes with the third lowest ERA in the American League, thanks to an incredible bullpen and Ron Guidry, who wins 22 games. But on September 12th, they trail the Blue Jays by 2.5 games, as the two teams square off in a 4-game set. The Yankees take the first game, but drop the next 3 to kickstart an 8-game losing streak. On September 22nd, with the Yankees now 5.5 games back in the division, Billy Martin and a struggling, beleaguered Ed Whitson get into a barroom brawl. Whitson is 6'3" compared to Martin's 5'11", and has a background in martial arts. Kicks are involved. It results in a broken arm for Martin and broken spirits for Yankee fans. It's one of the wildest things to ever happen off the field in baseball history, and it feels like it should be a season ender, but the Yankees win 7 of their next 9 and head into Toronto for the final 3 games of the year, needing a sweep to force a tiebreaker.
Here's a throw to the plate. The Yankees win it.
The Yankees win the first and third games, but drop the second and miss the playoffs by just 2 games. Billy Martin is fired by the Yankees for the second to last time after the season, and the team doesn't reach the playoffs again until 1995. And while this is the best Yankee team to ever miss a postseason, in 1985, it's not even the best team to miss the postseason in New York City. That's right, coming in at number 2 is the 1985 Mets. Boy, that was a tough year for baseball in the Big Apple. But while the Yankees' 1985 season kicked off a decade-long scuffle, the Mets' 85 season sowed many of the seeds that would bloom during their title season the following year. Much like 2002 was for the Red Sox, 1985 was a turning point for the Mets. New manager Davey Johnson had support from fans after a 90-win campaign in 1984, and 1985 would solidify him as the right man for the buck-wild 80s Mets. With an offense led by the trio of Keith Hernandez, Gary Carter, and Darryl Strawberry, the Mets finished 3rd in the National League in runs scored. On the pitching side, the 85 Mets and the rest of the world bore witness to arguably the greatest pitching season of all time.
Number 16, the White Gun.
As 20-year-old Dwight Gooden went 24-4 with a 1.53 ERA over 276 2/3 innings and tossed 16 complete games and 8 shutouts.
Good fastball blows Sandberg right out of him.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
His 13.3 wins above replacement is the highest single season total by any player born after the year 1900. Anytime you're in the same category as guys with names like Grover, Amos, Silver, Pud, and Old Hoss, you're doing something right. Met legends Ron Darling and Sid Fernandez joined Doc in a rotation that finished with the second best ERA in all of baseball. The team had nearly all the pieces they needed to win a World Series, but couldn't get them all on the field at the same time. Strawberry went down in May and missed 43 games in the middle of the season with torn ligaments in his thumb. The team failed to recreate his production, and they went 20-23 in his absence. Despite their midseason struggles without Strawberry, the Mets rebounded to go 19-9 in September and entered a 3-game series in St. Louis on October 1st, trailing the Redbirds by exactly 3 games. The Mets won the first 2, cutting the division lead to 1 game, but dropped the rubber match before losing 2 out of 3 against Montreal to put a nail in the season. The 85 Mets are arguably the biggest what-if on this list. If Strawberry doesn't go down with an injury, the team likely wins more than 101 games, and it's very possible that they could have celebrated a title in Queens a year ahead of schedule. Coming in at number 1, the 1993 Giants, who somehow managed to miss out on the postseason despite winning a whopping 103 games. Yes, you heard that right. 103 games. They're the only team in the last 40 years to miss the postseason while still winning at least 100 games. In fact, there have only been 2 other teams in the history of baseball to win more games and not make the postseason. The 1942 Dodgers and the 1909 Cubs both won 104 games, but that's a video for a different day. 1993 was the last year with only 4 postseason teams, and the Giants absolutely saved their best for last. The season-long back and forth with the Braves is one of the great pennant races in baseball history, and proved to be a fitting end to the pre-wildcard era.
Patterson rips the ball to the right. Back it goes. Back. Gone! I don't believe it.
After winning only 72 games in 1992, the Giants made a massive splash in the offseason by inking reigning MVP Barry Bonds to a then-record 6-year, $43.75 million deal. Bonds made it back-to-back MVPs in his first season by the Bay, smoking 46 home runs and leading all of baseball with an 1136 OPS.
High fly ball deep to right. This ballpark is not going to hold that.
Surrounding Bonds were 2 other top 15 MVP finishers in Matt Williams and Robbie Thompson. The Giants scored 808 runs, good for second in the National League. Their pitching staff was nearly just as good, thanks to strong seasons from starters Bill Swift and John Burkett, as well as 48 saves from closer Rod Beck.
Giants win as Beck saves it.
They led the NL West by as many as 10 games in July, and still held a 7.5 game lead over Atlanta in late August, with 6 head-to-head matchups remaining. That was where it all started to unravel for San Francisco. Atlanta took 5 out of 6, cutting the lead to 3.5 games. After that, San Fran dropped 8 games in a row to fall 3.5 games back. Then won 14 of 16 to re-enter a tie with 1 game to play. They'd already won the coin flip to decide home field advantage in a potential tie-breaking game, but in order to get there, they'd have to win 1 final game against the Dodgers.
And Martinez watches it go. Another home run for Mike Piazza. Second home run of the ball game, and the Dodgers lead 10-1.
A crushing end to an otherwise amazing season. Objectively great and subjectively terrible. Like many of the others on this list. Teams forever swirling around in baseball's historical gray area between good and bad. But as fans, our definition of team success doesn't have to start and end in the win column. We can judge a season by more than just its record and find meaning in the margins. How you feel about these teams is largely a matter of perspective. Can a season only be considered good if it ends in a World Series title? Are the only options success and failure? Well, that's for you to decide. But as far as these teams are concerned, a few extra wins would have been nice. Keep coming back to MLB and MLB Vault on YouTube for playoff baseball magic all October long.